Hello, everybody. I'll give it a minute to let some people log on and then we'll do this epic live. Analysis is in. It's an incredible thing. It's amazing, truly. It's not so surprising the media doesn't talk about any of this. They go the other way. We're hearing about Taco, Trump, attacks on a truth media post he shared. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a few seconds as I give it that time. It's big. Okay, I see people are coming on. Okay, I'm going to do this. Just going to minimize. It's also good to get the fingernail when you do these. It's sad that this won't last more than 30 days, but it's what it is. So, hello everybody. I think actually I'm going to check. I might have not got high enough. Yeah, we'll go like that. Okay, hello everybody. I want to do this live. I'm sorry I didn't make it this morning. I'm on a pretty good diet. I stay faithful to it. And last night at the gas station coming home, I filled up my car. I have to go to Niagara Falls today. My aunt and my cousin are in from Alberta. My aunt's never been east before. And, I lost my uncle last year. She's widowed. This might be her last big trip she feels anywhere in Canada. So she's going to do that. And I'm going to go meet her at least for dinner today. After work, I stopped and, work on my stuff. And I saw these donuts. They're the version of Boston cream, and they were on sale 2 for. And I grabbed them, and I cheated, and I ate them. And the first one I ate, of course, I'm like, yummy sugar. I could feel a little tanginess. It wasn't quite right, but the chocolate, and I just wolfed it down, just ate it fast. Ate the other one too, which wasn't bad, but that first one, I got that taste that was off. And of course, I went to bed. I did some things, but then I went to bed. Woke up this morning at 3, terrible stomach on the toilet, not good. And then, of course, for work, I work in nuclear. We wear suits. We do extremely long, they're called jumps in these nuclear suits. And of course, if you have any issues like that, and you can't make it out, de-suit yourself, go through all the stages in time, well, you're going to be a story for the ages, and nobody likes that. So when you're on those days or something like that happens to you, you just phone in, you say, I'm not going to make it, and you don't do your jump. And that's just the way it is, and you don't want to take that chance. So that's what happened to me. But I'm feeling better today. Now I'm ready to do this live that I wanted to do very early this morning. It's epic. It's huge. It's got to be done. Donald J. Trump, after we're done this analysis, after we go through steel and aluminum tariffs that everyone's minimizing, now it's Taco Trump. He can't get things done. He's a chicken. He chickens out. All this. People have no clue. And it's sad. It's sad to see the Democrats in the state they are. Really quick before I jump into this, like I said, this is a massive live, a real economic analysis that no one's doing for you at all. And of course, why would they? They love subjugation. They love beating down the masses for a wealthy elite. People will say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, look at Trump's Truth Social. He just said Joe Biden's a robot, all these things. Well, he didn't say that. He reshared it. And I'm going to go through that. Trump says nothing about it. He just shares what is a small account, actually. And it's in the realm of conspiracy. And what does conspiracy mean? It means you look at something, you have a suspicion, you have all these things, but you can't prove it. I don't delve into conspiracy. On the Weekend in Truth, or in an X space, I had a Canadian academic say, I'm a conspiracy theorist, even though I have all the documented evidence. I even have the documents this supposed academic who is, not published, of course. They're not published outside of Canada. The rest of the world won't publish this guy or any of his compatriots in our Canadian academia. They're not published. The Canadians who are published no longer live in Canada. They're on the world stage because bigger powers have scooped them up because they actually do the work. And of course, they're genius. They have a high IQ. A number of them are good friends of mine. I'm very blessed in this life, a terrific amount, in fact. And they'll teach you everything that people like that say and call us conspiracy theorists as they're incorrect, that they haven't done any work or even looked at documents in their reality. And what really scares me is a lot of these folks are teaching you our Canadian financial system is pathetic. It's nothing short of pure, unfiltered slavery. And then that's what it is. These economic systems that Canada runs in its financial institutions are not matched in a lot of the world. Now, there are a lot of countries that do, and there's billions of people under it, like the Commonwealth, like communist countries, or full-on military dictatorships, where standards of living and cost of livings are terrifically awful. This is where Canada's been going for quite some decades and is on a precipice to go. Now, USA was infected, and this does chase to a lot of the northern states, a lot of Democrat states. It's a reverse of what was a problem in America that led to a civil war. You now see it in the northern states. They're the problems. The South is all fixed up, largely. They've gone away from their democratic ways, from the Democrats, and have actually moved into Republican idealism, Republican rule of law, originalism, which means you take legal texts and you read them as they're written, as they're intended to be, as they're stated to be. You don't interpret those the way you feel like it. When you hear Canadian academics talking like that, this is not only exactly what a Democrat is in the United States, meaning they're already on the left side of the spectrum. They even take it further and put themselves up in autocracy. Much, much worse. Now, Democrats in the United States want to get there. When Donald Trump shared that Truth social media post about Joe Biden doubles, cloning, and all of that, here's the basic reality. He didn't make any comments because he's president of the United States. He just shared it in this fashion, everybody. And he gives you a peace sign. He's much younger, got the open shirt, and he goes, peace. Because here it is. Joe Biden, 2020, all of a sudden, you don't see the guy. He's locked away, wearing masks. You can't see his face. He wore the large masks. It was suspected, not provable, that doubles for Joe Biden were being used, and they're used all the time. Presidents use them all the time for security purposes, for double convoys, if there's threats, happens all the time. The left media sharing it rapidly, saying, oh, it's normal for presidents not to get prostate checkups. Look at American males over the age of 70. It's invasive. It's not a good idea. But you're president of the free world. You have commander-in-chief, the most powerful nation in the world, and your finger on the button. They do all these mental and physical tests to make sure you're physically, mentally fit to be president. So when you look at all our recent presidents, going back to the last 4 outside of Joe Biden, so Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, the Bushes, we go on and on. We can go all the way to Clinton. And when you look at their medical records, they all entirely were screened, including Donald J. Trump in April, for prostate cancer, right? They all took those physicals to make sure everything was good. And Donald J. Trump is well into his 70s now. So, right? Joe Biden, the only president not to do it, not to go through it. Is it because possibly they already knew it was an earlier stage and that the idea of him stepping aside and all of that when he couldn't do his presidency, we all saw the weakness, the frailty. He's in and out of it. One time you see him without a mask, he can barely get a sentence out. Another time, all of a sudden, he's energized, he's going, he's great. Um, that looks to me like somebody's hiding something. I think everybody saw that. There's something wrong with Joe Biden. There's issues with his look is different, his height is different, all of that. And while I'm not going to get into the realm of robots or cloning, human cloning, or the rest of it, as was shared, the reality is something was very wrong. It wouldn't surmise or surpass me that things were known about his health and it was swept aside in order to complete an agenda. And I think we can all agree to that much. Can't prove anything, but we can prove this much, that something was very wrong all the way through Joe Biden. Narratives in COVID-19, completely wrong, completely absurd. It wasn't just America, it was the whole world. But something was very wrong with Joe Biden. We all saw it. You'd be deluded not to see it. The media did their best to hide all of it because the truth isn't important, even though that's the primary function of the media, right? Truth reporting, news for the people, and even their gift in amendments in the United States Constitution, freedom of expression and speech. Where does that say freedom to lie, cheat, and steal? That is a function of monarchical systems. Which brings me now, everybody, to this post. It's epic, it's huge. Donald J. Trump is a genius, and what I'm going to go through with you has to be shared. It's unbelievable, it's epic, it's large scale. America's never, ever going to be the same. You're going to see histories between what Trump did during the last presidency, what Joe Biden and the Democrats took over and continued with, and what Donald J. Trump is transitioning right back into as though he had won the election in 2020. He's going right back to it. Now, Americans are kind of lost because of media and narratives, because of globalism, because of this pounding on Donald J. Trump, his one big beautiful bill. Tariffs, they want to tear that away. They can't. I promise you that. They will not win. Doesn't matter what kind of interpretive justice you bring or paid off for corrupt justice at a state or a federal lower level. They're not going to win an appeal. They're definitely not going to win in the Supreme Court. Hands down, this is precedent in the common law. This has already been won by both Democrat and Republican presidents, and the highest laws of the land are articulated very well in the Constitution of the United States. An amendment procedure completed between 1787 and 1790. Game over. That power is of the president, and he wins. And as you are going to see, we're going to go through that entirely. Aluminum and steel tariffs, this 50%. The idea of taco and Trump the chicken, you don't know anything. And for Canadians, you were given a beautiful gift. This transition we're about to go through, this will be the end of 51st state if we continue on the path we're going. We allow our crown to continue the lies, the bullshit, the media propaganda, all for an elite, all for the wealth of a few over the many who don't effectually bring anything forward to create wealth. They transfer wealth. Think about that. Think about that. It's horrific. It's horrible. More than that, we're going to get into this concept of World War III. As I'm going to roll out Trump's tariffs and what I talk about here in this presentation, I'm going to show you that absolutely America knows there's not going to be a World War III. They're not even planning that way. They're not going to be involved in Russia and Ukraine during the entirety of the Trump administration. You're going to see why. Why would you? Why would you? I'm going to show you what is Russia, what Russia has done, what Russia is going to continue to do, and no one's going to beat it out of them unless you want to go to war. And I promise you, Canadians, it's not going to be America. This presentation is going to dispel all of that, and then we're going to get into where Russia stands. And then it's left up to countries like Canada, the Commonwealth, and the European Union. Now, maybe they will want to, but they would lose against Russia. Without the United States of America, they're all going to lose. And as you're going to see, USA's not going that way. Now, people are trying to get that narrative. They want their commodity levels raised high. They want all this revenue, all these greasy, seedy politicians. But we're going to show you what kind of president Donald J. Trump really is and how much he truly loves America and what he has designed that's now right in focus, especially with these tariffs. It's monumental. And without further ado, we're going to hit that. Thank you. So I start with this. I did this with, of course, my statehood AI, which is really good. And yeah, I put there, and I got the red, white, and blue, of course, theme of America. And it's Trump's tariffs. And then you got in the background Colorado, the Rockies. And after analyzing the steel and aluminum tariffs at 50%, American energy and all the executive orders I've gone through, it is clear that Trump's tariffs are going to double American jobs. It's going to double American incomes. And the most of this, everybody, it's going to double American resource optimization to 700 years. No joke. You won't find an expert who really looks at this, as I'm going to go through, to tell you anything other than that what was maybe less than 200, 300 years, and that's utilizing other countries. If you change America's system of how it uses resources today, you refocus that, you change energy, you change how you get energy, what sources you use, and how you use energy in America. If you want to go 100% all in American resources, you actually double the length of time America has utilizing 100% of the resources, meaning they don't need anything from anybody. And you've heard that from Trump many, many times. And I am here today to tell everybody that's exactly what he's doing. It's epic. It's monumental. My friend Jason Skomolsky really epically into these analyses, and he sees it now too, and he's excited. He went through my slides. He's really excited for this. And he's a pretty smart fella. He's been at this a long time too. So I always respect him. Another one here in Ontario is David. He's big into the banking and the money situation, all of it. Gold standard, all of that. He would really love this too. So those two are going to really get a kick out of this analysis, as should all of you. It's huge and it's undeniable, and it can't be myth busted. People saying, oh, it's not true. Sorry, even AI is on our side on this, and anyone can look for themselves and you'll find these real truths. So, just making sure we got that slide. Okay, I want to start with this. If we were to assign a value reflecting the full cost of a plastic bottle, including manufacturing, transportation, environmental impact, a comparable glass bottle might be worth double that amount. Double that amount. So, folks, so $1, a glass bottle could be 2, or maybe even just a little bit higher. They go by like 1 to 2 cents. So $1 US, if we had a size and value we assigned to what that costs. So you see it, Coca-Cola, bottled water, all kinds of products. You see the massive plastic. Or you even see aluminum, cans, all that, one-time use. Okay, they recycle all these things. And we're going to get into it. But a glass bottle is your best source of drinking, least amount of environmental impact, and it's also the least amount of medical harm to the human being. This is a fact that nobody's going to dispute, that plastic and even aluminum bleed into your system. So We know it's double. So you're Donald J. Trump and you say, I am doubling all aluminum and steel tariffs. One, not only to remove all of that from America, but to also change the purchasing of Americans and the manufacturing of American companies. So now American companies are going like this. Geez, is it better I go back to glass, even though there's the cost of transportation, weight, and damage? But yet, all these medical things, these environmental things are dealt with in the United States, and maybe there's a use more of energy, but by doubling that, you're forcing manufacturers and Americans to switch back more to glass. That's what's happening here. That they're going to switch a lot of things that we single use and we throw it away plastic. That's not going to happen anymore in the United States. Aluminum's not going to be used for things like cans, storing food, water, fluids. They're not going to do that anymore. They're going to change that out. We're going to get into it in a minute. But now you've made the glass bottles viable, tit for tat, meaning manufacturers are better off going to glass. So here we got this analysis done on plastic bottles, lower energy consumption, and how you can use the PET, which is the plastic recycling here. So the production of plastic, especially PET, requires significantly less energy compared to melting glass, less raw material. Plastic bottles use fewer resources than glass or aluminum alternatives. Except for, we get into in a minute, I'm going to show you why Trump is doing this. So efficient manufacturing, high-speed production lines make plastic bottle manufacturing efficient. Plastic recycling, while not always perfect, can help mitigate some environmental impact. When they say some. And there's amount of coal and other resources used in this process. Is it very cheap? Sure. But are you using coal and other energy systems appropriately to make plastic bottles when there's other more expensive materials requiring aluminum and steel? Well, we're going to get into that. So this is super important. In 2018, so this is during Trump's first administration, 3.9 million tons of aluminum were generated in the United States. You ready for this? Half, 1.9 million tons being aluminum containers and packaging. Do you see this, Canadians and Americans? And it's continued on like this, and in fact, it's gotten worse, right? But half of all the aluminum the United States uses is for aluminum containers and packaging, not final products, right? Look, beverage and soft drink cans, which represents 50.4% of the recycled aluminum. The amount of energy waste, coal, all this energy into aluminum, when wouldn't it be better to take all of that out of there and put it into automotive, tooling, building, manufacturing, parts, equipment, right? Planes, aerospace, technology of the future, not commodities that aren't worth nothing. You're wasting half of it on people's need to drink pop and juices, and they use it once. And of course, there's plastic too, but plastic, we know, weeps into your bloodstream. So does aluminum, by the way. These are not great systems of drinking from. This has always been known, right? But it's cheaper than glass and others, okay? In 2023, the United States exported approximately $1.2 billion worth of iron ore. That's not a whole lot. Oh, sorry, I'm going to shrink that. America hardly exports iron at all compared to Canada. Canada's 10 times them. Look, this represents about 0.7% of the total global iron ore exports based on value. Americans know that the raw resources must be utilized in the States, not on the world stage. You don't just give them up to China, Russia, and all these other countries. India, it doesn't matter. You keep it for the consumption and use of Americans at home. You manufacture better, large, way up on the manufacturing chain, high-end things, and then you sell them. That's what USA does. Not Canada or other countries. Iron ore was one of the third highest valued metal mined in the United States after gold and copper. Iron ore was mined from 9 active mines. We get into the states of those. Of the iron ore mined in northern Minnesota's Mississauga range, net exports minus imports were 3.9 million tons. U.S. ore made up 2.5% of the total mined worldwide in 2015. Employment in 2014 was 5,700 in iron mines and iron ore treatment plants. And again, this is throughout the other states, not the USA, not the world stage. 2023, the United States exported just under, now this is important, 8.9 million metric tons of semi-finished and finished steel products, meaning no ore, no nothing. They take all their systems, they build products, finished tertiary products manufactured, and then they sell them. 10 times the rate they do ore. Ore isn't even an issue here for the United States. That's what USA does. In 2021, the U.S. iron and steel industry, this is important, indirectly employed around 143,000 people. This figure includes both steel mill workers and those involved in steel product manufacturing. Steel mills themselves directly employed approximately 78,900 workers. The steel product manufacturing segment employed 52,500 workers. Okay, so we put all this in. What you're solving for, the increase in U.S. jobs in semi-finished steel products if the USA produced 100% of its own iron. Okay? What's the given problem? So, as the eye knows, and we're going through, 20% is imported to the USA. Trump wants to end that. He put 50% steel and aluminum tariffs. He wants to transition key components of the economy into where they should be higher products, not cheap, crappy products. They want the higher products, the better jobs. So, what's the given problem? Expanding domestic steel production to match domestic consumption would create as many as 87,000 new jobs. That's what the tariffs do. It absolutely ends the steel and aluminum industry in Canada. We can say goodbye to that. Canadians, I'm going to blow this up. You will be buying American steel and American aluminum because you won't be able to compete with this. The USA is a huge steel producer, supplying 70 to 90% of its steel consumption. In 2023, about 20% of steel used in the USA was imported. Of that, half came from Canada. So for Canada, that 10% market share is why we have steel for the things we need in Canada. Because if you take away that 10%, which is 90% of where our steel goes, we only use 10% of our own steel. So think about that. We lose that 10% of that 1/5 of that market available, which we are. Canada isn't going to be producing anything. So all these concepts that the premiers and Mark Carney are telling you are not going to be possible in probably less than a year. All those companies are going to be announcing we're finished. Now, Canadians, you can subsidize them to the tune of $50 to $70 billion a year to keep them open because that's what you're generating. Aluminum, steel, all sources, most of which, again, is the United States of America. You lose that, you're game over. You're going to be an importer of steel and aluminum at whatever prices USA sets. And, of course, that makes us now their number one competitor, right? We're not their customer, we're their competitor, right? Because on energy and everything else. So the problem states expanding domestic steel production to match consumption would create as many as 87,000 new jobs. This means that if USA produced 100% of its own iron, there would be 87 new jobs in semi-finished steel products. massive increase in GDP for at least 3 states of the Union. 3 states are going to have a massive influx on high-paying job. This is people, skilled trades you're going to be making, and of course, that's at the expense. Half of those jobs are at the expense. So we're looking at a loss of 43,500 jobs in Canada in steel and aluminum over the next year. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. Anyone not telling you this is a liar. This is why Donald Trump said, listen, it would be better if you just became the 51st state. That's why he told you that. That's why he's been hammering on it, because of these kinds of actions. And people are calling him Taco. If you're a Canadian, you're participating in that, you are an incredible ignoramus, stupidus maximus. I'm sorry. But this carny crap, this liberal crap, this conservative crap, this Canadian academic crap, this Canadian media crap, how do they not do these analysis? How could you not get this right and showcase, say, listen guys, we really got to take this serious. This is epic. Because I promise you, when you talk about we're going to do all this across Canada, Northern Gateway, and I'm listening to everybody blah, 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 blah about it. You're not going to get, with whose steel and aluminum are you going to complete these epic tasks? Let alone with what plastics are you going to utilize to create these new industries of the future encompassing right across Canada, a much larger scale than America has to do, with 10 times your population and capacity and financial capacity. We're living in a lie, an epic lie. Like I said, do the math on how many jobs you're going to lose off of this analysis. So USA produces approximately 81.4 metric tons of crude steel annually. This makes USA the leading steel producer in the USMCA region, according to Statista. The American Iron and Steel Institute reports in 2023, USA raw steel production was 89.7 million metric tons. Okay? It would take the USA roughly 714 years to consume their 75,000 million tons of iron ore if they produced 105 million tons of iron per year, meaning they cut you out, Canada, and everybody else, which is what they're doing. So they still, if they do that, they have 714 years. Now, a lot of people said, that's not possible. America doesn't have the energy or the capacity to make that steel. They need a special coal, right? Metallurgical coal, in fact, specifically. While the total recoverable reserves include all types of coal, metallurgical coal, known as met coal, is a high-grade coal used in steel production. The USA does mine and expect metallurgical coal through exact amount of met coal reserves with larger totals not explicitly stated in the provided search results, but however, the USA is known to have a significant portion of its coal reserves in the form of met coal. The USA is a net exporter of coal, with a significant portion of those exports being metallurgical coal, right? So, how long will USA coal reserves last? They have a massive amount, most in the world per person per capita, everybody. But, based on USA coal production in 2022, about 0.594 billion short tons of recoverable coal reserves would last about 422 years, right? That's it, as it is now. But folks, you get rid of aluminum can and shipping production and you resort all aluminum to higher tertiary. You don't import any. You now can restrict your met coal in that respect. You've doubled it. You've doubled it. If you use only met coal in that 105 capacity, which is way more than what they use right now, they now have doubled. They're at 700 years building steel. They've went from half that to double that. Look at this. Yes, the United States could potentially, and what did Trump, so this is nuclear. So to transition, how would they deal with glass and these super plastics, these polyfiber plastics? How would they have the energy to do that? Yes, the United States could potentially use nuclear power to transition away from coal in the steel production process, and this would lead to doubled steel production and extended coal iron reserves. This transition would involve using nuclear power to generate electricity and process heat for steel making. This is electrolysis, potentially doubling steel production, extending coal reserves up to 700 years. This gives them their natural gas. This gives them their synthetics. This gives them everything they need. This is why Donald J. Trump is putting in the 50% tariffs, and he just announced the massive nuclear expansion of $1.7 trillion. Any idiot who isn't looking at this as it really is and can't see that USA just moved from a limited capacity to not only 100% capacity, they've also doubled and extended their coal reserve years, especially met coal, to 700. This was unthinkable 10 years ago. No one would have this. This is your current sitting president, Donald J. Trump, a pure genius. Nothing short of a pure genius. He's doubled American sovereignty and security for the next 700 years if he completes all of these things, which he has already. And if he wins in court, this is where America goes. From less than 300, and arguably that's with imports. But if he makes this transition, expands the nuclear, he's doubled security for America in the neighborhood of 700 years. Something thought impossible couldn't be done. And I can tell you, all manufacturers will make this transition. We're going to get into more, and I'll show you why. This one is big. I made this slot. I'm going to expand it a bit because right now, the shit world, Canada, we're one of them. You see it all over our news. I don't know if Americans watch that, but you see it all over European news. You see it on the left media, even in the United States. That all of a sudden, oh, we're going to fight Putin. Putin wants to war. He's not going to have, he's not going to go for peace. After what I just showed you, clearly USA under Donald J. Trump is not planning any World War III with Vladimir Putin. This presentation I just showed you, does that look like a presentation that has anything to do with the World War III? Contrary to popular belief and what the medias aren't telling you from the elite, this system of elites, this globalization, what they hate most about Donald J. Trump, this is all of Europe. This is those high fancy pants Democrats in high fancy positions enjoying corruption all over the world, right? Well, Donald J. Trump and the Republicans aren't going that road. Putin's going to fight it out with Ukraine. That's a fact. We've always known this. We've known this since 2022 for key areas of Ukraine. And USA is not going to get involved, not while Donald J. Trump's president. And that's not changing for the next 3.5 years. So anyone who's talking about World War III with Vladimir Putin over Trump's dead body, literally, that's what it'll have to be. His plan, this analysis I just showed you, clearly has zero to do with a World War III. That looks like a plan for America way into the future, an immediate future in the next year or two, doubling excellent paying jobs for Americans across many, many states. And these things all vibrate through America. And in fact, the jobs is over 1 million high-paying, high-skilled jobs that have disappeared over the last 30 years. Donald J. Trump is going to have a lot of those returned by the end of his term. Midterms is going to be a real epic shaker for Americans. He won't live to see this future America, likely, but you know what? It's kind of like the past history with America where they celebrate and make monuments of presidents. If Trump's successful and he wins against Supreme Court and he keeps his tariffs in place, just the ones that epically affect Canada beyond anybody else, There is nobody else in the world affected like Canada. And it brings the sovereignty, the wages, and the jobs back to America and all the investment. Canada can't compete with that. It's a lie. That's why the 51st state. And people who don't see that, you're just completely void of truth. This has always been Trump's truth and the Republican truth for at least now 10 months. It's been published. Now, this most recent and his executive orders were kept relatively quiet. We knew there was a transition, but now we have the numbers. We see those 50% tariffs. We see what he's doing with major industry players, and it is awesome. We've seen the money released for nuclear in his executive orders, stated in the Republican platform 10 months ago, but not with official numbers. He's doing that now today. It's huge. So why won't there be a World War III? Well, we got Congress people and Senate telling you that, oh, geez, Putin is preparing for more war. Of course he is. Of course he is. This isn't a secret, everybody. And we're going to get to you why. Because it's always been this way. Folks, this is a map of Ukraine, and that's a map of the Russian oblasts since 2022. It hasn't changed. Those are the boundaries enshrined by Russia. Whether you like statehood or annexation or referendum by the people, whether you trust or not, does not matter, because I'm just going to go back for a second here. It's all in these words. UNSCP 5, United Nations Security Council, permanent 5 members. That is USA, that is Russia, that is China, that's UK, that's France. Whatever they do, they get to do, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Sorry, folks, but that's international law. And Russia, these are the boundaries they set. They voted for in 2022. They completed their annexation process, and there's nothing they're going to accept other than this map. Take a good look. See those boundaries? Zaporizhia, I always have Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, those 4 new ones. Those are the 4 boundaries Russia has voted in State Duma, passed to, in their minds, this is Russia. Those are our states of our union, known as oblasts in the Russian Federation. They belong to us. We will fight until we have those 4 oblasts. Crimea was already taken in 2014. People can say whatever they want. That's not even a negotiation with Russia. Anyone who doesn't understand this doesn't understand USA and Russia. And they will never give it up. This is their starting point of any negotiation with Ukraine, USA, or anybody else. Anyone telling you anything other than this is lying to you. Those are the boundaries. Where is Russia now at today? Look. 2 of those oblasts with the outside 2 overlapped. But there's the territory circled with red, arrows pointing to it. See the big sections of white? That's what Russia is fighting to finish off. Those are 2 portions of 2 oblasts and small overlap of the 3rd and 4th. But that's what Russia will only negotiate. They won't stop fighting until they've filled all that in. And then they'll stop. And the only negotiations they will accept from Ukraine or any other world powers is those red lines I just drew filled right in. That is all Russia will accept. They will not stop until those are filled in. Donald J. Trump wants to end the war in 24 hours. He's got to convince Ukraine that you've lost all 4 of those, and then maybe you get a signed statement that Russia will never, ever leave, and then maybe there's an action for a World War III. But as it stands today, this will continue forever onward with no World War III and nothing the world's going to do about it. And at least until Donald J. Trump has finished his presidency. He's never going to go anywhere further than this. Anyone telling you anything other is lying to you. This has always been the truth since 2022. Those areas, Russia says are theirs, and they won't stop fighting until their oblasts are finalized. This is the beginning of the negotiation. That's my video. So folks, this is Trump's tariffs as it really is. Again, it will double American jobs. It will double American incomes from where they are now in massive industries. This is massive tertiary manufacturing, yes, in production of resources, by getting rid of all outside resources. And for Canadians, you best have a good look, because you're expanding, and your idea of making this across Canada system within your monarchy as a direct threat to the United States, as a direct competitor. They see you coming 10 million miles away. They told you if you're not a state of the union, they're going to destroy you. Right there, there's Turtle Island. There's an American family. Trump would certainly love to have the cherished 51st state, but he will be America first, which means you in third world status. This has been told to everybody since December 2nd, 2024. And true to his word, he has not stopped. He continues on, and Americans are making this transition whether we like it or not. And if you're not in it, you're not going to win it. You're going to lose. If you want to be that competitor, that means as Canadians, we're going to be signed off with China or other powers that are definitely not Europe. Europe won't take us. And no matter what any Canadian tells you, the European Union is not going to take Canada for anything other than a promise as cannon fodder in a Ukrainian war. Will we get to ship our resources or products to European Union? The answer is no. We'll never get a trade deal. We'll get vetoed, as we always are and always have been. Why? Because we're North America. We're not European Union. We're not in that circle of countries that all together, 28 states, are still smaller than the Chinese economy and much smaller than the American economy. Think about that. And it amazes me that Canadians can't see this, that the tail of the tape shows you. Americans are in your face now. Your media won't tell you. They tell you what the politicians want you to hear because you're slaves. They don't want you to know this truth. Any real economist, any geopolitical scientist would easily get this analysis if they wanted to show you, but they don't. Any media company should easily be able to ascertain this. It doesn't take people of high IQ here. This is reality. This is what he's presented. This is what it changes. This is what the effects are. I don't see any negative effects for America. I see massive negative effects for Canada. When USA, since everybody, 1848, has been our only fair trading partner. Everybody else has exploited us. Ontario and Quebec wanted to join those 13 colonies. They did. In 1848, there were states by then, and it was 17, but it was Quebec and Ontario, East and West Canada, who got utterly betrayed by the United Kingdom and Commonwealth, cut out of all trade. That's why we trade predominantly to the United States, not because of any other reason. Everybody says, oh, it's because of our border. No, we were enemies at one time because we were British North America. But when UK did a number on us, when the empires did a number on this British North America, we had to go to our southern neighbors for help, for trade, because we were suffering. And they took us in. But those days are over. USA can't afford it anymore. They're saying, listen, join us officially. We've had a great relationship for all these years. We can't carry you anymore. And you've been going back to the empires and you're getting corrupted again by it. So now you can go back to them and learn your lesson the hard way. You can become a third world country, just like Ontario and Quebec, as they were, learned in 1848. They learned that. And then Canada made a bunch of promises. This new Canada, with all these new great laws, was going to make everything terrific. They even conned Newfoundland after they supposedly got rid of the crown in 52. They brought it back. And unfortunately, Newfoundland was tricked and then captured. It's always been a lie. Canada is an epic lie. and people will lie to you about it over and over and over again. Well, America's a straight shooter. Donald J. Trump and his Republicans are straight shooters. This is what we're doing. Check out his big, beautiful bill. It's incredible. There's a whole bunch of myth on that too. That'll be my next video. But this one's huge. This 50% tariff on steel aluminum destroys Canada and makes Canada uncompetitive. Canada won't even be able to produce its own metals in many, many industries, meaning they're going to have to rely on the United States because Europe's not going to come help you. They'll exploit your ores for pennies on the dollar. You'll be lucky if you get a job because they're going to want their own labor. That's what's going on right now in Canada. Canadians know this. They know that they're always being borrowed against. They know the financial and tax system's against them. Life's only got extremely unaffordable. Many times worse in the United States. Well, USA is making everything better, and you're getting worse. They get stronger, you get weaker. And Donald Trump says, hey, I love Canadians, even Mexico, Canada, Mexico. We can't continue on like this. So join us. 51st state, 52nd state, we're even go after Greenland. We want that Turtle Mountain. It's right there for y'all. There's his globe, there's his map. That's what he would love to do, but it's up to all of you. They don't make you do anything. But he's prepared America first to financially destroy you, and he is winning, and he's going to win. And that Supreme Court is going to back him up. I can promise you that. Any honest lawyer, even Canadian lawyer, should easily be able to tell you that in the common law, that yes, there's two precedents of two presidents. It's written in the Constitution. That's the president's power. And it's been backed up in legal cases for two presidents, a Democrat and Republican, just like Donald J. Trump. And they want it. So it's precedent. You can't make a new law and break precedent, or you're not common law, you're civil law. And America isn't civil law, they're common law. It's important for people to understand these things, what systems are. And it's amazing how many people lie, hide the truth, play the Crown's game, manufacture lies against what's right in front of your face, undeniable. This is one of the only publications of its kind that I know of. I've never seen anyone roll through all this. I tagged Donald J. Trump, President Trump, in his account. I know the White House is trying to educate Americans. I wish I had reach. I don't. But I'm going to do next, I'm going to do his big, beautiful bill, and I'm going to go through that entirely. But this one is huge. Taco my ass. We're the tacos. Crushed tacos. And we're elbows up, ass in the air. And anyone telling anything other than that is a liar. God bless everybody. That's my video. Share, share, share. It's huge. It's undeniable. It's where America's going. And Canada isn't ever going to go. Not unless we're Canada, the 51st state. God bless. Bye now. Do your diligence. Search it up. Look how interwoven we are with the USA. These tariffs destroy Canada first and worst. God bless. Bye now.